Stand with me. Ours was no chance meeting. Not fate.
So, look, The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, episode 3. And damn, I wish they had a shorter name for all of this. The Rings of Power, episode 3. Yeah, she's slower. She's much slower to what episode 1 and 2 was. It's kind of what I wanted, but the problem with that one is that not much has happened.
Still no Rings of Power, but now we're seeing where we're going towards the Rings of Power. It's definitely felt like it's slowed down from the first 2 episodes. This episode started to feel more like some stuff from Game of Thrones, specifically like King's Landing. They go to this island.
So we have Galadriel arriving in Numenor. She's being held captive, and she's rescued by Elendil. And Elendil is such a legendary character that we all know from The Lord of the Rings, because of course Elendil is Aragorn's great ancestor, and Elendil's son is Isildur. So the very guy that essentially kickstarted all the events to the Third Age. And we got to see a little bit of, nods to how Isildur character might end up. And yeah, I thought it was really, really cool to see that. Seeing Galadriel interact with Elendil and stuff, and knowing that, hey, she's gonna meet Aragorn, your great ancestor, in the future. It was, I don't know, when you start thinking about the series and those characters in those terms, it does make your heart melt a bit.
Nori, she's been hiding Gandalf, if that's who he is. I suppose it is. I mean, Gandalf always said he always had a fondness for hobbits, and I guess we're seeing why, because they basically saved him. But I still feel like it's gonna, I don't know, I hope it ends up being Saruman, because I just think that'd be kind of a cool twist. But yeah, so the hobbits discover that she's been helping him, and they're like, we're gonna kick her out. Oh, but she's actually Nori is just a kid, so we're just gonna punish her family by putting their cart to the back of the line when they travel to their next little location, because they're nomadic, which is something I really enjoy with the hobbits. It's cool to see, because I think this takes place like 4,000 or so plus years before the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings series. So really the only group of humanoids that is living differently is the hobbits, because they don't have their shire. They just live nomadically. Everyone else though kind of lives like, not much has changed in 4,000 years, which is kind of sad, because they have magic and stuff. You'd think like they'd be beyond us. Like, a lot has happened for us in like 200 years, even 100 years. So I don't know, it's not looking too good for this planet of people as far as progression.
Harfoots, more Harfoots. Yeah, they're all about migrating and just living and loving their lives and doing all their shenanigans, and it's pretty hardcore like rules there if you think about it. So Nori's dad broke his foot in the previous episode, and now he's like a liability, and he's scared of being left behind by his tribe. It's nuts if you think about it. You cannot even break the foot when you migrate, and I don't really care about them. I enjoy watching them being on the screen. It's kind of a weird thing, because you get a lot of those nods to Shire and the way hobbits live. We get to see, the way Harfoots live, and wake to the, the Harfoots that they left behind. I thought it was a very nice touch. It was emotional, but was it enough? I don't think it was introduced or set up enough for us in order to get emotionally involved or feel sorry. But I thought the idea was very beautiful, and I still don't know whether it's Gandalf. No one has told me. I decided not to know. I really want to be surprised by it.
So in the last couple episodes, Galadriel was shipwrecked with this guy, Halbrand. I had to look up his name. Well, I guess he's supposed to be the show's Aragorn, but he's a thief, so it doesn't really work. He kind of thieves like in a weird way. These other knights, I think they were giving him trouble, and he was just eating at a bar or something, and he's like, oh, let me buy everybody around. And the only reason he did it was so that he could steal this one guy's his emblem on his shirt. And like 2 seconds later, they know he stole it and they follow him, the knights, and then they go to beat him up. And he's like, I don't want any trouble, please don't do this. They punch him like twice, and then he just like beats them down immediately. Like, I don't know, like they unleashed this crazy power in him and he just destroyed them, which to me is just kind of weird, because it's like, okay, if you know that you have this uncontrollable power, like if you're attacked, you're just gonna like kill who's ever around. Like, maybe just don't steal in the first place, or don't put yourself in that position. That was a little weird.
Like Poppy and Nori, of course, we have our Sam and Frodo. I read this comparison a lot. Of course, every hero needs his or her sidekick, and yeah, am I bothered by this sort of archetype being formed again? No, not really. It's just the way films are made, and I think I've seen a lot of films and stories being like used this dynamic that I really don't mind it. It works for the relationship. As long as Nori doesn't play some crucial character, she's not going to become a Frodo of our story, I think I'm okay. I'm okay with whatever they're up to. I don't mind them. And yes, I know they weren't even supposed to be here, and a lot of fans are very upset by Harfoots being them. But I enjoy the way they were portrayed. I enjoy the way they are sort of brought to us, whether it's accurate to the books or appendices or not. That's a completely different story.
But I mean, I like it. I'm coming into it understanding that it is not Lord of the Rings. You can never redo Lord of the Rings. You should never try to redo Lord of the Rings. It's its own thing, and I like it for that. It's something that, at least in this episode, it felt like if you didn't know it was Lord of the Rings, you could kind of totally think it was a completely different show, which is fine, because this is 4,000 years ago. It should be different. Like, the world, despite them all still kind of dressing the same, still not having figured out electricity and things like that, and cars maybe or something, like, it still makes sense that it would be as different as it is, yet similar. But I still think it's a really good show. I'm enjoying it. I think it's very well done, even if it wasn't like a Lord of the Rings thing. It's nice to watch a very well done medieval fantasy show.
We had the elves being captive and the fight with Warg, and I thought it was very gory. I forgot to check the ratings, but the whole fight between the Warg was very graphic, and yeah, if you don't like blood, probably I would skip through that scene. We still don't know who Adar is. I'm kind of excited to see and find out all about him, because it looks like an elf, it looks like a human. Whoever he is, I'm very interested, because he's leading orcs. Am I excited for episode 4? Yes, but I think I was excited more about episode 3 after having watched episode 1 and 2. Much slower. Numenor's beautiful. Nori doing her thing. It's a good episode. Thanks, guys. Bye.